So you clicked on this video because you want to stop worrying and overthinking, but before you change the habit of a lifetime, I just want to make sure you've really considered all of the benefits that worry offers.
In the depths of your worry.
Yes. I
Drift
absolutely love
away
1-800-WORRY.com. They give me the best ideas to spiral on.
I love those guys. I mean, without 1-800-WORRY, I would have no anxiety at all.
Every day, people without anxiety visit 1-800-WORRY.com and need our help finding things to worry about. These are people looking for ways to stay awake and feel anxious, and they are crying out for help.
Hi there. I'm calling because I've got a job interview tomorrow. Do you have any advice?
Excellent. I highly suggest that to prepare for this interview, you Google interview disasters. You really need to focus on what could go wrong.
Our trained team of worry experts will gladly give you suggestions on completely unproductive things to think about and stew on. All of our suggestions come with a lifetime guarantee to keep you busy, all while distracting you from doing anything remotely productive or helpful.
I need your help with something. I can't decide which college to choose.
Simple. Download every syllabus on Earth, color coordinate the spreadsheet, interview all alumni from 1890 onwards. But don't actually make a decision.
At 1-800-WORRY.com, we believe that information is really useful. The Nigel you speak to will encourage you to collect as much as possible for as long as possible. And that's because our team of neuroscientific doctors have discovered that making decisions of any kind can have a real lasting impact on your well-being. Decisions can be scary, so don't make any. Keep Googling.
I went on a first date and I thought it went well, but they've not texted me back. What should I do?
Oh no, you absolutely can't have a feeling. Yikes. I highly suggest you start worrying about climate change or how AI is going to be the end of humanity or your job.
One of our core values at 1-800-WORRY.com is that feelings are overrated. We love to help people just like you stay distracted with ruminated thoughts about completely random things or things that you have absolutely no power or control over. Because when you're thinking, you're not feeling, and feelings suck.
Hey, Nigel. I'm just following up to say thank you for all your help worrying. My dentist says my tooth's fine after all.
See? All those sleepless nights worrying worked. Imagine what would have happened if you'd not been so worried.
We get calls like this all the time telling us that the bad thing that someone was worried about didn't actually happen, and we say thank you. It's proof of our lifetime guarantee that worrying actually does stop bad things from happening. Call or join online at 1-800-WORRY.com in the next 30 minutes and you will receive our welcome kit of worst case scenarios and random terrifying thoughts to keep you spiraling. Your click says, I'm here to worry, so click right now.
drift away.
Now that the panic department is on break, let's talk about what actually helps, because I've got a theory that worry is a very seductive trick that anxiety has pulled on us that makes us think we're doing things, but actually it keeps us stuck. If we've not met before, my name is Oliver and I'm a therapist here in Los Angeles, and I'm starting a new anxiety treatment program that helps people with worrying and overthinking and anxiety. Anxiety's goal is to keep you small, safe and separate, whereas I want to help get you moving, so stick around and I'll show you how. Do me a favor, if you know someone who is worrying a lot, please share this video with them. My goal is to help people understand the rules of anxiety and worry and start helping people to break those rules. The first thing that you should know is that we all worry. It's part of being human. It's a natural human tendency. Worry is supposed to be the first step in problem solving. It can help us organize our thoughts, prioritize tasks, and give us reminders to do important things. But it's only the first part, and that first part is a very different mental process from actually problem solving. When you get into chronic worrying, it isn't actually problem solving at all, it's problem generating. People with anxiety disorders, like generalized anxiety disorders, are big worriers, and worry gets us stuck into this first phase. It becomes an unproductive, repetitive mental loop. Worrying is all thought-based conversations. If you pay attention to it, we're just having conversations with ourselves about the worst-case scenarios and what could go wrong. Problem solving, though, involves more creativity. It's got more lightness to it, more expansive. It involves different parts of our brain. But worry's convinced us that we are actually doing something about the problem by stewing in our thoughts instead of doing anything about them, which is problem solving. So if you're not entirely aware that problem solving is different, worrying might actually be confused with problem solving because we think it's preparing us for the worst case event or even sometimes preventing bad things from happening. It's tricked us into believing that we worry because we actually perceive it as being helpful. When we worry, the problem isn't the thought itself, but it's more to do with the fact that you've been tricked into an endless argument with those thoughts. So the solution isn't to try harder to ignore it or disprove the worried thought, and it's definitely not helpful to engage that thought and follow it. That only gives it more power. The real solution is to change your entire posture by standing up to worry. Now, I don't think we have much control over all of the anxious thoughts that just pop into our head, but we do have the power to decide if we're going to give them our attention or not. If you go to 1-800-WORRY.com, it is a real thing, I promise. It's not like my self-indulgent intro that you saw earlier. You actually get 3 questions that help you decide if the current worry in your head is actually worth your mental energy and effort. Most often, it's not, and I call that trash talk. And when it's trash talk, you don't have to engage with it. If it is a legitimate concern and worry, great. Then you can get into problem solving. You can break the fear down into little nuggets and figure out what to do for each of those steps. I get a lot of questions about how to actually problem solve, so make sure you hit follow and subscribe because I know I need to make another video on how to effectively problem solve when you can do something about the worry. At its core, worry is fueled by a total intolerance of uncertainty, and most anxiety disorders are aimed to eliminate doubt and distress that comes from thinking about a situation that you cannot predict or control. So worry has this trick that it pulls on us, and it makes us believe that imagining worst-case scenarios is a way to have more certainty about the future or how we're going to handle things. So the need for certainty, or at least the intolerance of uncertainty, can drive us to gather all of the information, all of the facts that we possibly can, and it becomes this endless search for the ultimate answer. But because we can never be fully certain about anything, we end up stalling on making decisions, and then we feel stuck and more anxious, and then we worry more. I told you, worry keeps us stuck. Now, sometimes the reason that we stay stuck in worry and information gathering is that it can be a form of avoidance. We'll become intensely engaged mentally with the problem we're worrying about, but actually, sometimes it's more of a form of experiential avoidance. And that is all about really avoiding deeper feelings, fears, vulnerabilities, insecurities, or other big emotions, and especially that feeling of uncertainty. So when you're worried, it's sometimes useful to ask yourself what's really going on. I tell my clients to separate out their thoughts from their feelings and try and understand what information is coming from feelings that you might be avoiding. I guarantee that it's often some form, it's usually always some form of uncertainty, but if you can lean into that feeling, worry can loosen its grip. I had a client this week who was talking about uncertainty about a doctor's visit and something going wrong. I'm like, well, if you lean into that feeling of uncertainty, what really are you uncertain about? I'm uncertain about what the doctor will say. Yeah. And that was it, right? You don't really know what the doctor's going to say. That's not a pleasant feeling, but you also will find out. And you can ask questions, you can get a second opinion. That's going into the problem solving. Imagine, the worried part is this client imagining all of the worst case scenarios that really wasn't doing much. To really close the deal on us, worry has another trick that it plays on us at the end. And that is when you worry about a bad outcome and it doesn't happen, worry will make you mistakenly conclude that it was a good job that you worried. And it's because you worried that the bad thing didn't happen. It's a negative reinforcement loop that convinces you that worrying itself was a good deal, and it locks you into a pattern and cycle of continuing to worry. So to break out of worry, the first thing you have to realize is that worry can become a habit. So you've got to try and become aware of the trigger. There's always a trigger with a habit. And when you identify the trigger, it becomes a little easier to map out a cycle. So if lying down in bed at night is the trigger that starts your brain to start worrying, the worst thing you can do is to lie in bed and continue to worry. So you would have to get out of bed, maybe write down what it is that you're worried about, and then make sure you've got it all out of your head and go back to bed and try again. You could even preempt this by writing down all of the things that you can imagine you're going to worry about before you go to bed. And if this is happening at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're like, there's no way I'm getting out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, I totally get it. It might just be as simple as swapping the end of the bed that your pillow's at. That might be enough to disrupt the pattern. And if you can't find a trigger, or you can't find the thing that starts you worrying, or perhaps it's just so common, you're going to have to get a bit tough on worry, and you're going to create worry time. This is a dedicated 20 or 30 minutes that you allow yourself to worry. If a worried thought comes into your head and it is not worry time, you have to be a bit tough and break the habit of indulging in it whenever it wants you to. It's like a naughty little puppy. Puppies can be trained, and granted, this is a very willful puppy, but you can train your brain in the same way. So resist the urge to worry every time worry wants you to. Instead, you're going to say, nope, it's not worry time. We're going to do that at 6 o'clock. Now, during these 20 or 30 minutes, you have to force yourself to continue to worry for the full 20 or 30 minutes. I want the act of worrying to become really unpleasant for you. So you have to really force yourself to worry and think of all of those horrible situations. So your brain starts realizing that it doesn't actually want worry to be a habit anymore. It's kind of not a good thing to worry. That is how you start breaking any habit, like smoking. If we were talking about smoking as a habit, I would get you to notice that smoking is not quite as tasty or delicious as you think it is. When you start being more mindful and start paying attention to it, your brain starts loosening up the idea of this being an automatic habit and really doesn't like it anymore. If you're really stuck, check out 1-800-WORRY.com. It will guide you through the 3 questions you need to know to determine whether this is something that you should actually be putting a lot of mental effort into, or whether it's trash talk. If you want to know more about the rules of anxiety that I teach all of my clients, this is just one of them, by the way. Take the free anxiety quiz that is in the link below. It will tell you which of the other rules of anxiety you're most following and which of these rules are keeping you stuck too.